Just stay under him, Dale Jr. Just stay under him, buddy.
2 to go, bud. 2 to go.
Out of way. The calm voice of the spotter. Look at that choice, reassuring Michael Waltrip.
Michael Waltrip's biggest day transformed into his greatest loss in the twinkle of an eye. He won the biggest game of his life, but lost a mentor and friend, Dale Earnhardt, an iconic racer. Since this time, Michael had stayed silent, refusing to say anything about the day's event. But now, he has decided to bring everything to light. What has he confessed? Join us as we delve into Dale Earnhardt's final race and Michael's confession. Before meeting Dale Earnhardt, from a young age, Michael Waltrip had a deep passion for racing. Born on the 30th of April, 1963, Waltrip Michael is the youngest of 3 brothers, including Darrell Waltrip, a 3-time NASCAR champion and racing commentator, and Bobby Waltrip. His wife's name was Elizabeth. They got married in the year 1993. They had 1 daughter together, Margaret Carol Macy Waltrip, who was born on the 29th of September, 1997. The couple divorced in the year 2010. Michael also has an older daughter, Caitlin Marie Waltrip Kinnaird. She was born on the 12th of January in 1990. He had her from a previous relationship with a lady named Laurie Smith. Caitlin is happily married and has 2 sons. Growing up in Owensboro, Kentucky, in a family already very much acquainted with NASCAR through his older brother Darrell, Michael quickly fell in love with the roar of engines, the smell of rubber, and the adrenaline that came with the racetrack. Like most racers, he started small, competing in go-kart events, local races around town, and everywhere he could find the opportunity to build on his racing skills. As time went by, he kept becoming more passionate. While other kids his age might have been dreaming of playing pro football or becoming rock stars, or popular film stars, doctors, pilots, and many more highly esteemed careers, Michael only wanted one thing, which was to be seen behind the wheel of a race car. With how passionate and determined Michael was, it didn't take so long for him to make a name for himself at the local level, and soon he began to climb the ranks of the racing world. He gradually moved into stock car events with higher competition levels, seizing every opportunity. Unlike his brother Darrell, who was lucky enough to succeed relatively early in his career, Michael had to fight harder and put in much effort and hard work for every milestone and achievement. Michael's simplicity was one quality that made people like him so much. He was natural and authentic, very approachable, real, and never tried to be something he wasn't. Whether signing autographs, doing interviews, or even making jokes, he was known for his positive attitude. In 1985, Michael ventured into the NASCAR Cup Series, the sport's highest level. It was a dream come true for him, though a bad omen was waiting on the way. Michael had all it took to win, come out on top, and emerge as the best. But it seemed things were not working right. He struggled, but his efforts yielded little or no results. No matter how hard he tried, victories just wouldn't come. Race after race, he showed up ready to fight. He gave it everything he had, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Yet the finish line never seemed to lead to victory lane. Over time, people began to talk so much about his many failures. The situation was so bad that Michael went over 460 races without a Cup Series victory. Over 15 unfruitful years of showing up, racing hard, and falling short. It became a record no one wanted to hold, and unfortunately, Michael became known for it. Some people even began to pity him. Despite his efforts and obvious dedication, the spotlight that should have shone on his potential instead focused on his dry spell. Critics questioned whether he belonged in the sport. They whispered that maybe he was only still racing because of his last name, or because of the fans who still cheered for him. Regardless of all these, Michael remained resilient. He kept going despite all odds. The thoughts of giving up were there, and the desire to quit and just save himself from shame and hurt came. But he stood strong, regardless, hoping that a change would eventually come. He would make plans, re-strategize, and bounce back, but failed. He continued hoping a helper would see him and lift him to the limelight one day because he had what it took. He was doubtlessly skilled and very good in his career, but luck wasn't on his side. Eventually, The savior he prayed for finally located him. That man was Dale Earnhardt. Before Michael ever met Dale Earnhardt, he was simply a man chasing a dream relentlessly before anyone truly believed in him the way he believed in himself. Dale Earnhardt's effect on Michael's career. Michael Waltrip's journey through NASCAR had always been one of hard work, persistence, and resilience, but there was no progress until help found him. Dale Earnhardt was a living legend in NASCAR. He was fierce, fearless, and respected by all. He was a very influential man whose name carried weight. He had built a career on grit, dominance, and sheer talent, earning 7 championships. Because of his endless wins and achievements, he was nicknamed the Intimidator. As influential as he was, he had a deep passion for raising people to stature, and he used every opportunity he had to make sure there was somebody he was training per time. He wasn't just looking for people who could emerge fast. He wanted those who had heart, would give everything to the team, and needed a real shot. And he found these qualities in Michael Waltrip. At a time when almost no one else believed Michael could still make something of his career, Dale did. He believed enough to offer him a seat on his newly expanding team. For the first time in Michael's career, he had the full backing of a top-tier team with the best equipment, dedicated crew members, strong sponsorship, and a leader who genuinely believed he could win. This was more than an answered prayer to him. After spending over 15 years scraping and surviving in the sport, always fighting uphill battles, Michael finally experienced what encouragement and support looked like. He wasn't racing to prove people wrong and clear their doubts anymore. He was racing to prove Dale right. He had someone so willing to stake their name, resources, and reputation on him. He did his best to make him proud. He did not trivialize the opportunity at all. Dale Earnhardt's last ride, a day of victory and heartbreak. February 18, 2001 started like any other big race day, full of excitement, energy, and high expectations. It was the Daytona 500, tagged NASCAR's biggest race of the year. Fans were packed into the stands under the warm Florida sun, waiting to watch in excitement as the race began. If only they knew they were about to witness the final race of a legend, Dale Earnhardt. At the age of 49, Dale was still one of the most respected and competitive drivers on the track. With 7 championships under his belt and his famous black number 3 car, he wasn't just a racer. He was an icon and a gift to all racers. That very day, Dale wasn't just racing for himself. He played the role of mentor and protector for the 2 people that greatly mattered to him: his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and his close friend and DEI driver, Michael Waltrip. A few minutes into the race, Waltrip and Jr. ran up front, first and second, while Dale stayed behind them in third. It was easy for him to overthrow them and win the race, but that was not his aim. He wanted to watch and see them unleash all that he had thought of them over time. Additionally, he by all means wanted them to win, so his staying in third place was also a way of using his skill to block the other competitors from overpowering his people. He wanted them to emerge first and second by any means possible. Michael ran up front for much of the race, showing speed, control, and confidence like never before. Then, in a triumphant and tragic moment, Michael crossed the finish line first. He finally emerged as the NASCAR Cup Series race winner after 462 starts. The curse was finally broken. It was a very unbelievable moment for him. Michael Waltrip finally did the impossible. Tears of joy rolled down his cheeks as he couldn't believe a win like this would happen so soon. Reminiscing about past failures, mockery, doubts, and stigma, he could only get ecstatic as this was like a broken limitation and record. He had won the Daytona 500. Just before he could fully celebrate this win, the mood at the track changed. Behind him, on the final turn of the final lap, Dale Earnhardt's car had slammed into the wall after being tapped in a tight pack of cars. Initially, it looked like an accidental brush. Nobody thought it would be worse than that. Michael's joy switched to sorrow in a few seconds. When they drew close to check the situation, they found out that Dale had been seriously injured, and the accident was way more than what they thought had happened. Then, shortly after, the unthinkable was confirmed. Dale Earnhardt had died from the impact. The man who believed in Michael more than anyone else was gone in a flash. The very man who had given him his shot was gone. It was hard to process the news. He couldn't believe what he witnessed. The whole thing felt like a dream. It was a cruel twist of fate. The highest moment of Michael's career was immediately fused with the most heartbreaking loss one can ever imagine. His first win came with unspeakable sadness. He finally reached the top, but the person who helped him get there was not around to see it and join him in celebrating it. He felt cursed. It would have been better if he had never won, if Dale had never thought to protect him, if he hadn't even met Dale at all. It just would have been better because the grief and anguish were more than he could bear. That moment changed Michael forever. In the months and years that followed, he struggled with the weight of it all. It was so uneasy to let go. The joy of victory clashed with the grief of losing a friend, father, and mentor. Through the pain, Michael took lessons regardless. It was a hard moment for him. It refined him and did something remarkable to him. Michael became more than just a driver. He became a man who carried a legacy. A man who honored Dale not just with words, but with how he raced, led, and lifted others the way Dale had lifted him. The first win and Dale's death became like an open door to him because after it, Michael won 3 more races in the Cup Series, including another Daytona 500 in 2003, proving to the world that the first win wasn't a fluke. He became a respected figure in NASCAR not only for his perseverance, but for his resilience, even in the face of tragedy, and his willingness to be vulnerable and honest about the complex emotions tied to that pivotal moment in his life. Ultimately, Dale Earnhardt didn't just give Michael Waltrip a car. He gave him faith, purpose, and a future. He gave him strength. He gave him a legacy. He gave him a name. That one act of faith, that belief, changed the game for Michael. Dale Earnhardt saw something in Michael and didn't let it waste like that. With all intentionality, he did his best to harness the kill he found in him, even to his last breath. Michael Waltrip's confession. Michael Waltrip had waited his entire career of 462 races to taste victory in the NASCAR Cup Series. And when it finally happened at the 2001 Daytona 500, it should have been the greatest day of his life. Instead, it became the most horrible because of what happened to Dale. Months and years after Dale's death, Michael kept reminiscing and talking about him. It was way too difficult for him to forget Dale just like that. Everything concerned with race reminded him of Dale. All that he taught him had stuck, and he remained ever grateful for coming in contact with him. "I won the biggest race of my life," Michael once said, "and I didn't get to enjoy it." Just as he crossed the finish line, elated beyond words, ready to celebrate the moment he'd worked his whole life for, something didn't feel right. His best friend and boss, Dale Earnhardt, wasn't behind him anymore. He had been blocking for Michael and Dale Jr., protecting their lead, but now he is gone. Michael waited in victory lane with a growing sense of unease. Everyone was acting strange, unlike a team that had just won the Daytona 500. No one would look him in the eye. No one was even smiling. Just then, he met Dale Jr., not cheering, but walking silently, and he figured that something was wrong. When the news finally came that Dale Earnhardt had died in the crash, Michael was shattered. "It crushed me," he confessed. "I didn't want to celebrate anymore. I just wanted to cry." Michael has often admitted how torn he felt in that moment. On the one hand, he had achieved a dream many drivers never experienced. On the other hand, the only hope he had, the man who gave his all for him, had died in the process. "I only won because Dale made sure I got there," he said, "and now he is gone." Michael couldn't talk about that race for a long time without breaking down. He struggled with guilt, not because he did anything wrong, but because Dale was trying to protect him at the verge of losing his life. Dale saw the risk and the possibility of losing, yet remained strong for Michael's sake. Michael's greatest triumph came at the cost of such a devastating loss. The day that should have been the happiest became one of mourning. not celebration. He also confessed how hard it was to move on from that moment. It took years for him to process what had happened fully, and even longer to forgive himself for feeling joy during such a tragic time. But through it all, Michael never stopped honoring Dale's legacy. He made sure people knew that Earnhardt didn't die chasing his glory. He died making sure his drivers could soar, and as for Michael, that made the victory both more painful and more meaningful. "He was my hero," Michael said. "He believed in me when no one else did. I wish he could have been there to celebrate with me. I wish I could have hugged him. I wish I could have told him thank you." That's Michael Waltrip's confession, not just of grief, but of love, respect, and the unshakable bond he shared with a man who gave him his moment and heart. What's next? After Dale's death, Michael had to decide whether to keep racing. It wasn't easy. The garage didn't feel the same at all. The number 3 car wasn't there anymore. Every time he stepped into his DEI car, he was reminded of the man who made it possible. But Michael raced, not because it was the next logical step, but because that's what Dale would have wanted and would have had him do. A few months after Daytona, Michael was back at the same track, Talladega Superspeedway. He earned his second career win at that spot, this time more emotionally aware and connected to his journey. This wasn't just about proving himself anymore. It was about honoring the memory of the man who believed he could. Each lap was different now. Each race carried all shades of gratitude and tribute. Michael wasn't just racing for points or trophies anymore, but for legacy and Dale. Though Dale Earnhardt was gone, Dale Earnhardt Inc. still stood strong, and now, more than ever, it needed to be stable. Michael stepped into a new kind of leadership. He wasn't just a driver anymore. He was part of the voice that carried DEI forward. He continued driving for DEI through the early 2000s, helping the team grow and pushing the cars to compete at the highest levels. His loyalty to the team and his presence in the garage became a steadying influence because he was just like Dale to them, resulting from having stayed with Dale for quite some time. Having been tutored and mentored by him, Michael couldn't help but imbibe his attributes. He wasn't Dale, but he was a living part of Dale's vision, someone who had been shaped by the man's mentorship and carried his fire forward. Michael Waltrip wasn't meant to ride under someone else's banner forever, so in the year 2006, he took a bold step and started his own NASCAR team, which he named Michael Waltrip Racing, MWR. It was a leap of faith and a natural evolution in his journey. Michael was confident because he had learned from the best, Dale and his brother Darrell. From decades of highs and lows, it was now his turn to build. Launching MWR was no small feat at all. The team entered the Cup Series full-time in the year 2007 with a Toyota, a new manufacturer at the time. There were growing pains, failures to qualify, sponsorship struggles, and mechanical problems, but Michael was undeterred. He had been here before, after all. Climbing uphill was something he knew just so well. Eventually, MWR soon grew into a competitive team, fielding cars for talented drivers like Clint Bowyer, Martin Truex Jr., and David Reutemann. Under Michael's leadership, the team celebrated multiple wins and playoff appearances. For quite a while, MWR was seen as a rising force in the garage, and it all started with the man who once couldn't catch a break on the track and was labeled as a failure because he couldn't win a task. Due to Dale's efforts, he has attained innumerable heights and is now recognized worldwide as a very influential figure. As the years passed, Michael transitioned from full-time racing into broadcasting. His charm, sense of humor, and deep knowledge of the sport made him a natural fit in the commentary booth. He brought a lighthearted but sincere energy to Fox Sports, connecting with viewers not just as a former driver, but as someone who had truly lived the sport, who was truly knowledgeable and deeply experienced. Michael was always ready to discuss Dale in interviews and race day segments. Whether it was with a joke, a story, or a moment of reflection, he made sure people didn't forget what Earnhardt meant to NASCAR, to him, and to everyone who raced after him. Michael slowly began to tell the world his story through different means and platforms like books, movies, broadcasts, and public appearances. He talked about the struggles, the depression, the loss, and the quiet moments after the cameras stopped rolling. He even wrote a memoir titled In the Blink of an Eye, which detailed the haunting juxtaposition of his Daytona win and Dale's death. It became a bestseller and was later adapted into a documentary. In it, Michael was raw and real. He poured out his emotions, withholding nothing. He confessed how Dale's death changed him, how it made him more emotional, more introspective. He talked about his guilt, sadness, and how he shut down after the 2001 race. But he also shared the light, how he found peace, built something meaningful, and learned to laugh again. He shared virtually everything because it was a story worth telling the globe. Michael's signature humor never left him. He used it differently now. It became a bridge between grief and healing, between pain and perspective. He used his personality to bring joy to fans, lightness to tough moments, and inspiration to underdogs everywhere. Michael Waltrip is more than just a race winner or team owner today. He's a storyteller and a survivor, a symbol of persistence in the face of pain. He represents what it means to be knocked down repeatedly and still bounce back without giving up. His story proves that sometimes life's greatest moments come with unexpected sorrow, and that healing doesn't always mean forgetting. Healing takes time, intentionality, and letting go of whatever made him grieve. Sometimes it even means carrying someone's memory into every new beginning. What do you think about Waltrip's resilience and Dale's sacrifice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.